So, welcome to Carving a New Path. This is episode 16. And for those of you just beginning to listen, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the podcast. This podcast is filled with stories and tools and resources to help you pause and reflect on the life you're living while opening to new possibilities. Most of us were raised in a society that encourages productivity and do. And during the past few years, global events that have touched us all have encouraged us to take time to pause and reflect, to make changes and heal, to ask questions and look for new answers. So, the conversations and guests on this podcast have explored something different and carved new paths and a new life. So, today's show is called Sacred Geometry. And before we begin our conversation, I want to tell you a little bit about my guest, Sabine Kruse. She was born in Germany, studied economics in Münster and London. She worked for over 20 years in the area of development cooperation, designing and managing projects that improve the living conditions of people in developing countries. In this context, she lived and worked in Africa for 3 years and traveled to many African and Latin American countries. She speaks 4 languages fluently. And since 2010, she has embarked on a spiritual journey, exploring her inner realms and soul through meditations and spiritual programs, propelled forward by her curiosity to comprehend the purpose of life and guided by her intuition. And in 2015, Sabina discovered sacred geometry and started receiving information during meditations on how to use certain geometric shapes and forms to shift the underlying energetics for everyday issues to bring about the desired transformation. She began to write down these insights and short practices. And this information is the basis for Sabina's book that will soon be published. I can't wait! Its title, Activate Your Highest Potential with Sacred Geometry, a practical guide for everyday life. She lives in Germany and in Spain. So, welcome to the podcast. Here we are. So,
Thank you,
as I mentioned,
Andrea.
it's so good to see you. How's the Wi-Fi doing here? I know we were having trouble a little while ago. Is it holding?
It's holding at the moment. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here with you and with everyone who's listening in or watching the show later. So thank you very much for having me in your show.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you in the show page, you'll find a link to Sabina's Instagram account and also that you can listen to this on iTunes or you can watch it on YouTube. So we've got a visual and audio option here. Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, you are an economist who began to explore sacred geometry in 2015. And now this is your passion and work. It's a new path for you that you've been carving for the last few years. Um, could you tell us something about when you discovered sacred geometry?
Yeah, it was actually in 2015, and I'd already worked with a number of spiritual workshops and energetic methods. And during meditations, I started receiving insights, and it was like insights on certain sacred geometry shapes and forms. Like maybe you've heard of the Platonic solids. Here I've brought some here. There is, for example, a dodecahedron or a hexahedron, um, and what, or an octahedron. And so it started in 2015 that I received information on how I can actually energetically use these sacred geometry shapes and forms to shift underlying energetics. And so in these meditations, I always received a kind of a practice so I could experience the effect of those energetic shifts myself. And I started writing down all these insights and the practices, which are now the basis for the book. And so it was an interesting experience. And I wasn't at first sure whether this would actually be for real or whether I was imagining something. And what really helped me is that I came across a sacred geometry book, which was very practical as well. It was a book about the Platonic solids and their energetic properties and the energetic utilizations with short meditations. It's a book that's been published in German. And it actually confirmed the main findings of what I had received in these meditations from my guides. And I was like, oh, wow. So I'm not making this up. This is for real. And I was also feeling the energetic impact and the effects of the practices myself. So I was working with what I've been shown myself, and I could really feel that there is a shift, for example, working with the Dodecahedron and how that would impact my mental body, my mind, and I was getting clearer and there's more focus and clarity coming into me. And so that helped me really to keep going, and my curiosity propelled me on to find out more. And so here I am today.
I love that. And I want to highlight something for the listeners in this conversation we're having around you discovering sacred geometry, which I feel like is a common element when we're kind of drawn to something new. That you talked about seeing a book and realizing, oh, I'm not making this up. Like this is for real. And whether it's a passion that's being ignited or a new modality, to just trust that and know that finding someone who's like-minded or finding a book is a way of giving you some foundation for the topic and also confidence to keep pursuing it, right?
And great that you mentioned finding somebody who's like-minded, because then I later tried out the practices with friends to get some feedback from them. What do they actually experience when we, do the practice, or what brings it up in them? And I've started also posting like short activations on my Instagram page so that people can tune in and have their own experiences. And that confirmed the energetics of the sacred geometry shapes and forms even more for me and helped me
Yes,
to feel confident in what I was doing.
absolutely. I love that. Could you just give the listeners something about what is sacred geometry, and then maybe go into the benefits, some benefits of using it?
Yeah, so to sum it up, I would say sacred geometry is the universal language of the soul. The Greek philosopher Plato put it this way: geometry will draw the soul toward truth. And what is the truth? The truth is who we really are, our authentic nature, our divine origin. And if you look around, the whole universe is built on sacred geometry. You and I were both made of sacred geometry. And ancient civilizations knew that. I mean, the Mayans, the Celts, the Egyptians, they built their monuments also according to sacred geometry. And the word comes from a Greek word meaning measuring earth. That's the definition of geometry. And sacred actually means that it contains or follows divine principles of proportion and direction. So what do I mean by that? There is, for example, a certain mathematical ratio, which is called the golden ratio. And it is actually a ratio for defining true beauty. It displays perfectly harmonic proportions. And this is how we are made up as well as a human being. And a good example for a golden ratio spiral is this Nautilus shell. You might have seen that before. And I don't want to go too much into the mathematics, but just to give you the information that the golden ratio is, there is a Greek letter phi that defines the golden ratio, and it is 1.618 and so on. And you can even try it out yourself on your body. Golden ratio means that if you have a longer part and a shorter part, and you can do it here with your arm. So if the longer part is your forearm and the shorter part is your hand, then the ratio of the longer part, this part, divided by this part, is equal to both parts, meaning like from your elbow to the tip of your finger, divided by the longer part. And that equals 1.618, more or less, approximately. So you can check it later after this show if it's more or less true for you as well.
Amazing. Just amazing. The body and math and how all of this comes together. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, even like you might have come across certain shapes and forms that are more known than others, like, for example, the flower of life, the platonic solids I just mentioned. There's also Metatron's cube. And there are the stars, like a 5-pointed star, a pentagram, or a 6-pointed star. And here, today we're going to work with a 5-pointed star, the pentagram here. And it's also interesting to see how the universe is built in a kind of a fractal pattern. So when you have this pentagram, there is a pentagon inside of the pentagram. And if you join up the 5 corners of the pentagon, you get another pentagram. And in there, there's another pentagon, and so on and so forth. And the pentagon is the basis of the dodecahedron. There are 12 pentagons in a dodecahedron, and it's a very sacred form as well, because for me, it represents universal love and grace. And the pentagram, for me, is our personal essence. And here we will do that exercise. You can actually see that our human body, if we stretch out the arms and legs, forms a pentagram itself. And you find it also in nature. I mean, there is your 5-pointed star or pentagram flower, another flower that has buds in the form of a pentagon, which when the flower actually blossoms, it becomes a pentagram. And so I really would like to invite you to go out when you go out for a walk next time, to make sure and to explore if you can find any shapes and forms in nature, because there's so much to explore in nature, because it's also built of sacred geometry.
I love it. And I know that you have taken photos and posted them on your Instagram also, that I've seen over the years. Beautiful. So, is there anything else you want to talk about with the benefits before we go into a practice?
For me, sacred geometry, each shape and form has got certain energies or frequencies that it embodies, that it shares with us. So it's a kind of, you could even see it as a kind of a consciousness of its own. And so using certain shapes and forms energetically helps you to raise your consciousness and your vibration. And what I really love about sacred geometry is that it goes directly into your subconscious. So it doesn't get filtered by the left brain. So it actually surpasses the rational mind and has its effects directly in your subconscious. And this way, you can clear out any limiting beliefs or any stuck energies. You can raise your creativity and explore and activate your talents. It facilitates also clarity and focus, supports you in your relationships and in the emotional balance that you have. And it can help you to increase vitality and well-being in your physical body as well. And yeah, it's just wonderful. You don't have to really analyze it. You don't have to understand it mentally. And that's actually an important part. I mean, it works directly with your subconscious. Beautiful. And takes you to yourself, to your true self.
So I know you were going to begin leading us into a 0 point connection.
Yes. What I would like to lead you into first is a kind of, I call it 0 point connection tool. It's because it's important to look at sacred geometry, not just from your mind, but to actually feel it. And for that, it's important to get out of the mind and into the feeling and into the soul. And so this 0 point connection tool can actually help you to start off any practice from your soul. So what do I mean by that? For me, the 0 point is in the middle of your heart chakra. And it's actually the access point to your soul, to the quantum field, to all that is, however you want to call it. And so whenever I begin a practice, I go into my 0 point first. And there are many ways of going into your 0 point. And I just want to lead you into a couple of them so you can see what works for you. So if you take a few deep breaths, and then you start by imagining a golden spiral that goes from your head down all the way into the 0 point in the middle of your heart chakra. Once you arrive there, focus on that point, the 0 point, breathe into it, and just say or think, I set the intention to connect to my 0 point. And setting the intention is a very powerful tool because the energy follows your attention. So you're drawn into that point. And now from this perspective of the 0 point, I would like to lead you into an exercise with the pentagram. And I will show you a photo of me, what I would like you or invite you to do. And that is to actually stand up, and I will go out of the way so you can see it. Stand up and form a pentagram with your body. And you form it by holding your head straight, looking forward, with your arms outstretched in a horizontal line at shoulder height. Position your legs a little more than hip width apart. So this way your body forms a 5-pointed star or pentagram. Now go into your 0 point and breathe. You might want to close your eyes for that. But now set the intention, you just have to set the intention, think about it, to activate the pentagram within you. And now see, sense, or feel how the energy of your essence flows from your heart center, from your 0 point, into all 5 points of the pentagram, which are located in your head, in both of your hands, in both of your feet. Just imagine your essence flowing from your heart center into all these 5 points. And keep breathing. Now expand your essence even more. You can do that by just focusing on the expansion of your essence from the 0 point to the 5 points. You can do it by setting the intention to expand your essence and by breathing into it. If you feel certain energetic blocks in certain body parts, just allow your body wisdom to make the appropriate movements to unblock the energy flow. And keep breathing into your essence, focusing on its expansion into the whole body. until you see or sense or feel your essence everywhere in your body. And when you feel fully nourished with your own essence, you might want to radiate the love that you are out from your 0 point into the world. So this is just a short practice to feel your essence, to expand your essence, and don't worry if it didn't work for you right now, and try it again and just relax into it. Maybe I can just ask you, Andrea, how was it for you?
Yeah, so the 0 point is definitely something I've practiced before, and I just wanted to say that for listeners who are doing this for the first time. As you said, it may be different. Um, I felt, it's interesting. It's like trying to find the words. I felt this immediate sense of calm, and I would describe it as like I was home.
Yeah,
That, yeah.
exactly.
And it was like, it's just so relaxing and comforting, and this return to myself. Um, yeah, with the 0 point. And then with the practice, I found it really interesting that I could feel myself beginning to expand. And I think it was even before you said something about expand into the world or something, but I was feeling this expansiveness. And then I felt like a hesitation around, can I be that big? You know, and then it was like, oh, yes, you can. And so then I just like continued, um, and it also felt um, really beautiful and comforting to be able to connect with my heart with the 0 point, and then know that that was the energy that I was sending out into the world. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
I
thank you.
mean, you're very welcome. Some people might actually feel some warm energy as well, like coursing through their bodies when they do the exercise. And it's that love from inside that keeps expanding into your body. Um, and yeah, try it out a couple of times. I mean, and take your time with it. And it might be a nice exercise also for children, because they can stand up like that and experience their own essence that way. And I find the 0 point very powerful as well. Whenever I'm in my everyday life and things get hectic, I always remember, not always, but I try to remember to go back to my 0 point and connect to my essence and come home to myself before I actually go on with my life. So it's something that you can do all the time. You can always connect to your essence this way. And we could even take it one step further, especially in these times where we experience separation and isolation, be it through COVID, be it through the war. It's very important, to not be taken off by the outworldly developments. And so I have another short exercise I would love to do. And it's actually, now that you've activated the pentagram and the essence within you, I would like you to, I will just lead you into it in a second. I would like you to join forces with the essence of another person. So another pentagram, which is depicted as another pentagram, and feel that union. So so if you want, I'll just guide you into it.
Great. And for anyone who wants to see a symbol of this on your Instagram, who's listening to this, what is it called on your Instagram? Because I found it, I did see the site. Yeah.
This is actually called the union symbol.
The
with two
union.
pentagrams
Okay.
coming together, and also in a fractal way, and joined through the infinity symbols. And I will let you experience the movement. And once you feel the movement of the dance of the two pentagrams, it becomes the unity symbol. This is the unity symbol. So where everything is in movement, and the two essences of the two people are dancing together.
Beautiful.
They're both on my Instagram page, even like with a short activation, if you want to do it again.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let me find the symbol here as well for you to look at. Here it is. Okay. So again, I invite you to go into your 0 point. Just take a few deep breaths into your 0 point, located in the middle of your heart chakra. Now, first of all, activate your own essence, as we just did before. So like, just feel you being that pentagram again, and feeling yourself and feeling your essence in the whole body. So you can just set the intention. I set the intention to activate my essence. And then choose another person who you want to communicate with. It could be anybody. It could even be a being, it could be a dog, or it could be anything. And then set the intention to energetically communicate with the essence of another person. And just imagine that you are engaging in a dance of the two pentagrams, one pentagram representing your essence, and the other pentagram representing the essence of the other person or being. And just imagine and feel and experience yourself dancing with the essence of the other person. You might see two pentagrams moving and joining and separating and joining again, until they come together, those two pentagrams, to merge into a 10-pointed star. And then once you see or perceive or experience the two pentagrams coming together, ask this 10-pointed star to rotate within and around you with the intention of activating unity consciousness within you. And you might feel movement in your energetic body or in your physical body. Just breathe and allow the energies to dance and to flow and to move within you and around you. And simply relax into the energies. Let me ask you, at the level of your souls, can you feel that union and unity with the other person, that you're connected through infinity? And then I invite you to come back.
So I just want to know, do I look all bright and shiny? Because that's how I feel.
You do.
Wow, I'll tell you what I experienced with that is I had a lot of activity around my forehead and like the third eye on the forehead, but there and down one side of my face then. And when you once again said connect with the person, like at the very end, I just felt like my whole heart opened, even
Wow,
fuller. So
beautiful.
yeah, there's still the energy here on the forehead, but then the heart just really opened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sacred geometry can actually help you with that to activate your own, essence, the unity consciousness, and and that's important, really. That's why I actually made that change from my old job to working with sacred geometry, because I came to realize at some stage you cannot fix the world from the outside. It's really about what Mahatma Gandhi said: be the change you wish to see in the world. And this is a sacred geometry actually allows us to go through these changes and to be the change that we wish to see in the world.
So beautiful. It just brings it home, and that here's a practice that you can do to awaken that within yourself, to cultivate that energy inside of you, and then walk through the world with that being the energy and the frequency. Yeah. So, I'm in a little bit of an altered state. I realize that I'm glad that we had talked about. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, Sabina. And I just wanted to ask you to, first of all, since I realize the Americanization of my pronouncing your name, even though I've known you for years. So please say your name for the listeners in the correct pronunciation. First of all, do that.
Sabine Kruse, that's
Yes,
how you pronounce it in German, but
beautiful.
that's
And
Kruse is fine as well.
well, I was conscious of it yesterday. I was on a call with someone who is French, and instead of saying Andrea, was I don't know, had a totally different pronunciation. And I thought, wow, that's so beautiful. The way it was coming out of his mouth is just not the way that I normally would introduce myself. So I'm conscious of language and our accents and everything. So I wanted to say that. And then could you just, I know that you and Shantana are going to come on and we're going to do a podcast in April, but could you just mention the upcoming webinar, and then for anyone who's interested, come back in April and hear more details about it?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, together with my friend Shantana, who does sound transmissions that are very powerful, um, and I will bring in the energetic frequencies of the sacred geometry. We will do a webinar called Womb Wisdom Webinar, www. And so it's actually designed also um, to bring forward your creative abilities from the womb of creation. And we're going to start in May with that webinar, and we would like to share some more information about what we're actually going to do in the next podcast with you. And the 4th of April it is, I believe.
Yes.
And it's a great combination because frequencies come through, on the one hand, through sounds, and they come through visuals, and also through movements. And so we are going to combine all those different aspects. And we've been going through the process ourselves. So I'm just at the moment preparing it with a couple of sacred geometries. I'll show you the first one. This is called a womb regeneration, or also Delphi, because I loved it, the Oracle of Delphi, where I once was. And it's a reset. I mean, it actually resets the divine blueprint of the womb, but the womb also in the not only in the literal sense, but also in the more like metaphysical sense of the organ that is responsible for creation. Yeah, so we will work with these types of sacred geometries and transmissions my friend brings through.
I I listened to a transmission just recently and I found it's opened up my consciousness in a different way that I was thinking, wow, how do I even describe it? It's like information keeps coming to me, ideas, um,
Yeah.
connections with others. It's it's really powerful. So I look forward to talking with both of you on the call and yeah, on the podcast in April. And
Well,
also,
thank you for sharing that because it was interesting. It was exactly the transmission of the sacred geometry for mental enhancement. So
oh,
bringing, so, and you
God,
actually experienced it,
I
you know? It's,
forgot that that's what it was. I was trying to remember. Wait, how was it that they were describing it to me? I just entered in open to whatever would happen, but it definitely, it was as if, oh, because I think that it was described as thinking out of the box.
mhm,
Maybe.
mhm, mhm.
And I actually felt like there were boxes that were opened in my mind that I
Wow.
started to have insights about things and connecting the dots around a few things I've been having questions about. So yeah, and it didn't just stop with like it opened something during the 22 minutes and 22 seconds that I listened to this. This was from the February 2nd, 2022 transmission. Um, but it's continued. It it's continued. And so I want to say that to the listeners that working with this energy and with working with the sacred geometry, it begins to open something that it's not like you have to be looking at it all the time. It's actually a practice that you then feel the effects in your day-to-day life. So yeah, it's really powerful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And so it actually proves that what we designed it for.
I know, I'd forgotten that, and that's a good thing too, where it's like you don't have to like just move into looking at go to Sabina's Instagram, which is in the show page here. It's Sacred Geometry Experience on Instagram, but you can click on it there. And even just look at one that you're attracted to. And if you want to read what she's written about it, then that's an additional thing. But actually just trust that you're being guided to one, whether it's the shapes or the colors or whatever kind of draws you in and play with it from there.
And if you want to contact me through Instagram as well. Just drop me a message. And if you have any questions, any comments, yeah, just feel free.
And I know you have a website coming soon, and I'm going to post the link there, but just so that people know it's not live yet, but it will be. So I'll put the link there or keep updating the shows and all. So anything else that you want to say to the listeners before we get off?
Um, maybe, yeah, just to mention, I mean, the book and the website are projects for this year. So I do hope it's going to come out soon. Yeah, to the listener, so big thank you from my heart as well. Thank you for being here and showing that interest in what is an introduction to sacred geometry. There's so much to explore, and I really would love to encourage you, yeah, to look at nature, to look at yourself, to look at galaxies. They're all divinely designed on the principles of sacred geometry, and there's so much to discover once you go into it. And I do hope that what you find so far on my Instagram page would actually animate and activate and inspire you to explore more, as it has for me. I mean, it has opened up new worlds for me, and I've always been, interested in contributing to a better world. I mean, to an abundant world, a free world, a peaceful world. And it's so important to start with ourselves, and that's the way we will manage to make the shift.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for being here, and thank you to all the listeners. This is
Thank
Andrea
you.
Hylen. Yeah, thank you. And this is Andrea Hylen signing off for today. Bye bye now.